Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video. But it does seem like a very long time. I haven't uploaded a video. I checked the last video I uploaded was about 9 days ago, so it's kind of a long time. But I've been very busy recently trying to sort, work and some other parts of my life, which is it gets a bit too much when you start new things, but hopefully now I can try and routinely make some changes and see how I could sort of adjust doing these videos as well as other things as well for you guys. I also think the international break didn't help without putting any sort of football content out. But today we're talking about football, but very different topic today. But what I want to talk about is EAFC. Now, this game has been out for the best part of 3 weeks now, nearly approaching a month. And I would say that, playing FIFA at the time for me was always an annual treat. You buy a new FIFA title every year. You kind of get used to that for once in a while. Now, I feel this year, I have to say, I feel like nowadays I'm kind of getting turned off by that whole yearly FIFA, tradition every single time. Just playing the same new game every year, buying a new game, full price, 60, 70 pounds. And you go through all the sort of new stuff again. I feel like now it's kind of getting to the point, it's kind of becoming a more of a chore now, and I don't really see myself really kind of getting excited for this sort of new thing anymore. But look, I will say this, I am a huge football fan, obviously. It's no coincidence I do football vlogs, talking about football, putting content for you guys to have a look at. And obviously football has been a best part of my life for a while. But I feel nowadays, with football games or sports games in general, just doing the same yearly game, very little changes every single year. But yeah, they want you to pay full price for it, and you still get sucked in with microtransactions for buying packs and buying players. It's really becoming now more or less, a chore, and becoming more like, I would say, a cash grab. A very cheap money making cash grab that EA are doing. And now, EAFC is not the only game that does that. There's many other sports games that do this, but I want to kind of talk about this game in general because for me personally, it's the only sports game I really hold true sentiment to. I don't really hold other sports games for any sort of reason. It's really just, FIFA or EAFC now. That's really the only games that I've really been able to do that. Now, talking about the game itself, I think gameplay-wise, if you're used to FIFA, EAFC 24 is no different, okay? Like, gameplay is pretty much exactly the same, exactly how you know it. I think it still runs exactly the same game engine as well, which wouldn't surprise me because I think sports games have pretty much been used to that sort of same imprint every year, just using the same game engine, the same license and everything, and it just reuse and recycle every time. So, from a gameplay perspective, I don't think you could really complain about that. But at the same time, what is there that's really new about it? I mean, that's one of the questions I want to ask to you guys to tell me what new features really entices you playing this game. Now, I'm going to kind of be a little bit narrow-minded with this, in my view. Most of my features playing FIFA, probably since FIFA 14, has mostly been Ultimate Team. I never really cared at all for single-player modes or career or any of those sort of things. Now, I don't know whether, I'm kind of guilty with being young, when I was younger, playing these sort of modes where you kind of be enticed to buying packs, buying FIFA points and all those sort of things to really try and, build the best team. Personally, I haven't really used FIFA points for a while, so I kind of earn my progression throughout the game itself, which is kind of what I wanted it to be, but it does feel turning off to me that now we're kind of left with people you could buy packs and FIFA points to really try and, have this sort of quick route to, success. Is kind of, in my view, it wouldn't really be as, fair to other users who want to play this mode. I've kind of been used to that for a while now, so it doesn't really bother me that much, but it's still a little bit disappointing to see that for most of the aspects, you're not really seeing anything new for this game. And certainly for justifying 60 to 70 pounds, for some, they can argue potentially this could be another scam. Now, one new feature I would say that is included in EAFC 24, mostly in Ultimate Team, which is what I've been playing, is the inclusion of women footballers. Now, I will say this. I don't really mind that sometimes with games that they want to be more progressive and they want to try and, you know, do the best they can to really open up to, other new things. Okay, I think it's good that they try and have inclusion like that. But I think with adding, female players to Ultimate Team, mixed with the men's is, in my view, kind of nonsense. It's nonsensical in a way to think that somehow we look at men and women as, equal as well, equal as human beings, obviously. But obviously, when we look at physical attributes like pace, power, strength, agility, it's, well, different. And now we have, women footballers with their own FIFA cards and all that. And they're now put into the same ballpark in the ratings as the men. Now, we've seen many times that we look at, times where, the men and women have played against each other. I think Wrexham played against the United States in a friendly, and I think that finished 12-0 to Wrexham. And I think there was other friendlies as well where basically a under 15s or under 16 team played against Australia and they got, heavily beaten as well. And these sort of things is kind of like an image that people will look at and they will make somehow pure judgments to that game. Okay, and having this new feature in there. But also with women's football, it's not like a lot of, hardcore football fans or, football fans, that are really into FIFA and playing FIFA in general, really look at women's football and actually recognize any of the players. They're not really like, someone with a big name, or especially the times like when, fans open packs and they try and expect a great player, then all of a sudden they realize it's a woman player and they're kind of like, I don't know who that is. I mean, it's kind of funny in a way, but it does kind of create that sort of element that something is, well, nonsensical. Okay? I think the only way that you could have justified women players to be rated as high is if they were separate from the men's game. But obviously, you have to integrate it together. It now creates that sort of, confusion for a lot of people and something that I think is kind of a delusion. But also the aspect that we look at men and women to be combined together, play together in football is not really something that people would, go for and support. There's been many reasons for a long time. You look at sports that, when biological men trying to, put themselves out there, that they identify themselves as a woman and compete in women's sports, that's now certain sporting bodies will look at that and think that that has an unfair advantage against biological women. And obviously now we're seeing that they are now putting in these now laws and restrictions and that, biological men, identifying themselves as a woman or trans women in general cannot compete with biological women. They have to now be separate. Because obviously a biological man will have all the physical attributes already that they've already went through in puberty and everything. And even despite going on hormone treatment and all that, it doesn't make a difference. They're still having that unfair advantage. Well, they still have the upper advantage, and the unfair advantage will be the biological woman competing against biological men. It wouldn't be fair. So obviously, those are the things that have to be in place. So now, when you look at what EAFC is now, integrating them both together, it's kind of like they're kind of, going back to this sort of idea men and women can play together and compete against each other. It's like that doesn't really make sense. Now, obviously, if you suspend your beliefs for a moment and just look at it in an isolated scenario, it's a video game. So why would it matter? Well, if you think FIFA is trying to sort of replicate realism, fans, and gaming mechanics in the way it would, and obviously when you look at FIFA cards, they reflect on the ratings of the players they have based on their performances throughout the season or previous seasons as well, that they get the ratings they deserve, then you can't really sort of look at this as saying, oh, it's just a game. It's, it's not meant to replicate realism in any way. So it doesn't make sense. For me personally, I don't, it doesn't bother me to think that women footballers are in this game. You can easily just, if you don't want to use female players, you could just keep them in your club and just use them in SBCs. Or if you think a woman player is good in the game that's got a high rating and she's got all the attributes that can be included into your team, then heck, use it. But I think this feature alone is now kind of, appease kind of sort of gender roles in a way that's kind of nonsensical to think that we have to, use this as a way for inclusivity and kind of get, a lot of people who, the traditional people who play FIFA or football fans, make them, watch women's sport. It's kind of more like a forced irritation in a way, and I think it still doesn't really work to try and get people enticed into watching it. So again, it's kind of, these are kind of question marks you have to answer. It's nothing kind of based on being discriminatory or being, sexist or misogynist. That's not what it is. It's kind of, putting this sort of pushback and thinking to yourself, is this really working? But anyways, that's kind of what my thoughts of EAFC is. There's kind of a few bits of issues. Um, but I think most of all, I think the main real underlying issue with this game is the fact that kind of treating this game as like an annual every year game that you pay £70 for and not really experience anything new in terms of features or anything is kind of, in my view, kind of turning me off massively and kind of pushing me more to actually, think about maybe there's better games out there to play. So it's kind of drawing that question mark whether, I could see the future of myself really playing the next EAFC games down the line. But, time will tell. Maybe this game will get better and probably I'll get more hooked onto it. But I think as of now, I think it's kind of shown that EA aren't really interested in innovating their sports games or making them better for the future. It's just kind of use the same license, same game engine, and just copy paste every year essentially. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.